So my most recent tech purchase is my iPhone 17, but I had an iPhone before that, and before that, and before that. But I also own this MacBook, this Apple Watch, Airpods, a lot of Apple tech in general. And in my videos, I very rarely mention Android phones or something like other Windows-based laptop brands. And that's not because I don't like them, it's just because I haven't used them. But I'll be going into, if I were to take every single Apple device and sell it that I currently have in my ecosystem, what non-Apple device would I replace it with? But to know what I have to sell, I have to know what I actually have, so I'll go over my whole arsenal of tech from the good old fruit company, going from what costed me the least to the most. I'll be starting with the Apple Airtag. It's dead. I usually have this in my camera bag, but it doesn't really get used because that bag most of the time is just sitting in the corner there. Next up, I have my Apple Watch. This is the SE Generation 1. I actually just made a video on that. It's still been serving me pretty well. Now following that, I have a bit of a weird one, but I will still count it. It is my Apple Magic Trackpad. In terms of like mice or pointer controls, this is my go-to. Next up, I have my iPad, which is a refurbished 7th gen. I got it for like 125 bucks. That was actually the first video on my channel. Like, it's kind of slow, the battery's mediocre, but for my needs right now, it's working just fine. Now for audio, I have the 2nd gen AirPod Pros, and I have heard a lot of mixed opinions about the new 3rd gen ones, so I've been loving these. The sound's good, the battery's good, the noise cancellation's good. They're good. And next, I, of course, have my glorious base model iPhone 17. I'm glad I'm not actually selling my Apple ecosystem, because that'd be sad to say goodbye to that already. And there's one more item that's, you know, in the corner here that jumps from the $800 the iPhone 17 is worth to, what is that, like 6 times that cost? This is my Overkill M4 Max MacBook Pro. I do not need this much power because without any discounts, without any trade-ins, without buying it refurbished, brand new, this costs $4,750. A common thing I hear about Apple is their products are expensive, and I mean, I kind of can agree, and I mean, just by looking here, my crying wallet probably can too. So to actually see that point through, and kind of just for the fun of it, at the end of this video, I'll be adding up what I would get by selling all of my Apple products versus the price it would cost to replace it with the non-Apple ones. But what would I actually replace all of this with? And I genuinely don't know. I'm gonna be figuring this out live. I do think non-Apple brands tend to be more bold with their tech choices. Like you have the Asus, I think ZenBook Pro Duo. It has 2 screens on a laptop. That's pretty awesome. Then of course there's like the Z Flips and the Z Folds, and look at like Xiaomi, like they ripped off Apple's design, the naming system, and then one-upped them by putting a screen on the back part of their phones here. Like that's bold, man. And they did a pretty good job at it too. But the thing is with Apple, I mean, at least for me, once you already have one of their products like a phone, and let's say you're looking for a watch, it doesn't matter if it's better features, better deal, better value, no matter what it is, you're more likely to go Apple because you know it's gonna work well together. It's the ecosystem. It locks you into it and holds you hostage. But now for the fun part, I'll first be picking up my new phone. So just going to the second biggest phone brand, I would assume, the Galaxy S25. The Plus is $1,000. They have the FE, which is $650 for a good phone. I assume good, I don't know. But I mean, feature-wise, it looks pretty solid. You can get the standard S25, it looks like, for just under $800 on sale, which does beat out the 17, but it does look like the original price was $860, which is a little more than the 17. Now there's some more, I guess, like obscure options like the nothing phones and also the Vivo X200s, which that is a nice looking camera. I mean, I just think for me, that's a little too much. So naturally that reverts me back to another popular option, the Google Pixels. And this kind of catches my attention for more than just the phone itself. You'll figure out in a second what I mean. I can get it as the same color as my 17, but if I wanted to get it with the same amount of storage, it would be $100 more. But what did catch my eye is actually it has a telephoto lens, which I would love to have in the 17, not a deal breaker though. And it looks like they promised 7 years of updates, which I am someone who likes to keep my phones for a long time, probably still less than 7 years. So I mean, that's nice to know. Now next on my wrist, I guess wrist too, is watches. And there are a lot of good choices here, from things like Fitbits and Garmin's to, of course, things like the Galaxy watches. And if you're just looking to track your health, there's even options like the Oura rings and the Whoop bands, but I would still like the display. So naturally, I'm gonna go with the Pixel watch. And lucky for the theoretical non-Apple me, there's a $100 sale right there. So I could get a 45 millimeter. I think this is a 40 millimeter, so that's a bit bigger, which I think is also the size of the Apple Watch Ultras. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, $200, that's solid. Now next up are tablets. Now, I don't need a tablet. I'm only doing it because I have an iPad, so I think it's, you know, fair to get the alternative. And honestly, just taking a look here, it's crazy to say the cheapest one, I mean, granted only by 20 bucks, is an iPad. But you have your Pixel tablets, your Galaxy tablets, which that's actually pretty expensive. I assume and actually hope that that's actually more of a competitor to something like the iPad Pro here. Now, since I already got the Pixel phone, the Pixel watch, it would make sense to get the Pixel tablet, but I don't need anything fancy. So honestly, this Lenovo Tab Pro, that looks perfectly fine for me. Actually, they have an even cheaper version at $160 that comes with the pen and a folding case. That made my decision even easier. I would get this. So I mean, I am a lover for ecosystems, but it'd be hard to justify the $400 for the Pixel tablet compared to the $160 on sale, granted, but for the Lenovo tablet. Now for an audio device, I am an earbud kind of guy. I know there are a lot of good headphones out there, like the Sony XM4s, XM5s, and just generally for audio, there are a lot of good devices out there that stretch way far out above any ecosystem. Like the one that comes to mind are the Louis Vuitton $1,600 earbuds. I'm sure those are definitely worth it. But to keep things simple here, I would probably go with the Pixel Bud Pro 2s. So like, I actually don't mind spending a little bit extra than like their basic Pixel Buds to get a little bit better sound quality or better features or whatever it is. Wait, actually I take that back. That's an $100 difference. Forget everything I just said. I'm getting the basic ones. And the lower end ones still have noise canceling. Okay, yeah, screw that. Hopefully my ignorance of what the main differences aren't gonna screw me over in my theoretical non-Apple life here. Trust me, if I was actually gonna buy any of this, I would definitely look into it more, but this is all just for fun, so we're learning nothing here, are we? But generally, you're probably catching on by now. I'm a fan of ecosystems, and I think the Google one makes sense. I mean, I use a lot of YouTube, a lot of like Google Drive and that type of thing. Like they already have all of my data and like my personal information. I think it's time just to accept them into my life now. Well, you know, theoretically, of course, since, you know, I still use Apple, which also have my personal information. Now next, kind of as like a little bonus one, I have the Airtag, and I'm kind of only including this because I saw something cool, and it's this Life 360 tile tracker, but it's the size of a credit card. And I think that just makes perfect sense. You don't have to have a wallet to be able to fit your AirTag in it, and it just like looks like it has this weird growth on it. Like, I mean, the AirTags are pretty thin, but this looks like it would be pretty convenient. I don't know, I just thought it was a cool concept. Now I still have to do my laptop here, but first I'm actually gonna do the trackpad, or the closest thing to it, because unfortunately there is no real alternative, no real answer to Apple's versions of trackpads. Although I do know in terms of inside of the laptops, Windows ones are getting pretty better, but in terms of external ones, I really don't think there's anything. I think the closest thing is getting something kind of like this touchpad and stylus to track it. But like, honestly, I really don't think anything can come close, even just in terms of like function, because this works well with Mac OS, which is completely off the table. So I think I would just replace it with a mouse, something like Logitech's new MX Master 4, which does seem to have some pretty cool features. And finally, the laptop. Now for some of these other ones, I did like a little bit of research just to kind of get my brain warming up to some other options out there. Laptops, I have no clue. And this one is probably the most important because my current situation here with my MacBook, I do 100% of my work off of this thing, so I need to make sure I get a good one. I'm quite literally searching M4 Max MacBook Pro Windows alternative. I am out of the game here when it comes to Windows laptops. Please judge my decisions. Actually, all of my decisions here, to be honest. I want to get something that's good with video editing. That's probably my most intensive use case. I would like to have an SD card reader on it and, you know, definitely just some good ports. And since I'm working with videos, preferably at least a 2 terabyte SSD. I will be avoiding the Apple markup of internal storage, so maybe we can save a lot of money here. I don't even know. I really don't. Ryzen AI 9. I don't even know what that means. 32 gigs of RAM, 5070, 2 terabytes, 2400. And that was the Asus Pro Art, which I have heard some things about. It's the same screen size, got the same 120 Hz screen, slightly better display, and it's touchscreen. I'm not gonna ever use that, I'm gonna be honest. It is half as much RAM though, and I'm honestly not sure how the graphics hold up compared to the M4 Max, the maxed out one. God, that is more laptop than I need. But I do want to try to find something at least similar levels of overkill just for the purpose of the demonstration. I want it to be a fair trade-off. I got the Razer Blade 16. I can max it out to a 5090 plus $2,300. Yeah, this is MacBook price range right here. A 240 hertz display. Now, I'm assuming Razer is directed at like gaming. Although you can game on a MacBook, it's becoming a little bit more common now. No one really buys a Mac for gaming. Got a 2 terabyte SSD. Let's go to 64 gigs of RAM. Oh, we can't get the highest end CPU with 64 gigs of RAM. I'm sure the Ryzen AI 9 and not the AI 9HX, I know the difference between that. Surely the RAM's more important than that performance difference. I know nothing. And it's good to know this is theoretical because it's out of stock. This looks like it would be a good competitor to the M4 Max. Quick YouTube search. Fastest MacBook Pro versus RTX 5090 laptop. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of like the same exact one I was looking at. I did some good research. And this is my exact MacBook, except it's double the RAM I have. All right, for the CPU, it looks like the MacBook still almost doubles it. And for some other things, it looks like it gets pretty close. And then for Photoshop, the MacBook is like half the time. And for video editing, this is right along my style here. It looks like the MacBook gets beaten on Premiere and the MacBook is still just a little bit faster on Resolve. That's close enough for me. I think we found our laptop. Now, it does look like it has an SD card reader, which is perfect. Unfortunately, I fear the battery probably dies quicker than it takes to heat up a leftover piece of pizza, especially when you're doing something like video editing. And just also as another slight downside, for me personally, I'm a Final Cut Pro user in Apple-only software. I know how to use Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve, so it's not like it would be a major inconvenience. I just wouldn't have my first choice for editing my videos. Now, pro, or actually probably con of this, is you can game on it. So it's more room for distractions, but more room for gaming. I mean, it's thin enough to visually satisfy me. I mean, in terms of having a laptop that's thin, powerful, doesn't have fans that sound like an airplane taking off, which I'm sure this does. It's a Windows staple there, while still having good battery life. That's just where it's so hard to beat something like a MacBook, and I mean, those are all reasons why I went for a MacBook in the first place. Now for the price totals of everything I just picked out and what I could get for my tech today, starting with my iPhone 17, which I can still actually return for the full $800. My AirPod Pro 2s, which is kind of gross buying earbuds used, unless if you like switch out the tips, I could probably get around $120. You can get a Apple Watch SE Gen 1 for about the price of a bag of Lay's potato chips. I mean, I guess that'd be a pretty expensive bag of potato chips. I think it's like $60. For my AirTag, probably $15, but since it has no battery in it, I'll say $10. My iPad would be about $80. My Trackpad also would be about $80. And finally, my MacBook would go for about $3,800, which, considering the brand new price, is just about $4,800. $1,000 off in less than a year. Typically, Apple devices hold their value pretty well, but it seems like the more you upgrade it, the more it also comes down through the years. So if I sold all of this today, I would get about $4,950. And if I add up everything for the non-Apple replacements I just picked out, that total becomes $6,040. Now, before you say anything, I'm aware that is not a fair comparison. This is used pricing for all of my Apple tech, and then the new and newest generation pricing for the non-Apple tech. So on screen, I'll put the price total for the Apple tech brand new and also the newest generation of each. I actually don't know what the price difference would be. So is Apple more expensive? Is it cheaper? I don't know, but it's what I have and I'm happy with it.
So the key takeaways here are the iPhone 17 is incredible value, not just of other iPhones, but of all phones. MacBooks in some ways really can't be rivaled, especially in terms of productivity, and the laptops that do are just as expensive. And for all of the other products, they're pretty interchangeable, and I feel like the main deciding factor is just what ecosystem you're already in.
So let me know, out of my Apple ecosystem and my theoretical non-Apple ecosystem, which one you would prefer. Again, especially if you're low IQ, I don't hate any other brand just because I use Apple. It's weird to hate like that. It's also weird to defend a brand like that. Like, yeah, I use Mac. That doesn't mean you have to defend Windows with your life and try to prove to me that it's better. Windows doesn't love you. It'll never know you. But what it will do is ask you to update it for the 3rd time that week. Although for at the moment, everything I have Apple, I will be sticking with Apple. This did open my mind to a lot of the other options. And honestly, if the opportunity comes to try these for a future video, I would love to. Now, did we learn anything today? Absolutely not, but I had a lot of fun making this video, so hopefully you did watching. If you are an Apple user, let me know what ecosystem you'd try to get into as an alternative. But thank you for watching, and if you want to see more tech content, feel free to subscribe.